this is a very different look at this. This is saying in the ERP, we're going to have functionality very specific to a specific supplier. And I still don't have my mind wrapped around why that's a good idea for them. Even if they have that functionality as a marketing standpoint, I don't get why that's a good idea.
Growing a business requires a holistic approach that extends beyond sales and marketing. This approach needs alignment among people, processes, and technologies. So if you're a business owner, operations, or finance leader looking to learn growth strategies from your peers and competitors, you're tuned into the right podcast. Welcome to the WBS Podcast, where scalable growth using business systems is our number one priority. Now, here is your host, Sam Gupta.
Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of the WBS Podcast. I'm Sam Gupta, your host and principal consultant at digital transformation consulting firm Elevate IQ. You can't spell automotive without the mention of Plex. While not as penetrated as other bigger players such as Infor, Epicor, or SAP, Plex has had a significant impact on the ERP community due to the quality of its product. That's probably the reason Rockwell decided to acquire them. But the bigger reason why Rockwell acquired them is because of their MES and IoT capabilities. In fact, if you look closely, Plex would appear more of the MES than ERP. That's also probably why companies install Plex and Workday together, as they are truly made for each other, especially for manufacturing companies. It's also the only system that takes the perspective of plant managers and shop floors. And that's why Industry 4.0 community is a big fan of Plex. But where does Plex stand as of today? And where do they win most? In today's episode, we invited a panel of industry experts for a live discussion on LinkedIn to discuss major stories in the ERP and digital transformation space and an objective and independent review of Plex's capabilities. We covered several grounds, including their positioning in specific microverticals and their deeper capabilities than other manufacturing ERP software. Finally, we discussed their product roadmap, history, current capabilities, financial risks, and changes to their strategy because of the Rockwell acquisition. With that, let's get to the conversation. Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's show. Our goal from these sessions is going to be to cover one of the vendors in the ERP community, and we are also going to be covering some of the stories for this week. For today, we have a very exciting vendor called Plex. We are going to take first the financial perspective, if their financial statements are going to be available. If not, the second perspective that we typically take is going to be the marketing perspective. We are going to be analyzing if they have done any sort of public release, the way they are positioned in the market, based on their positioning on the website. We are going to analyze all of that. And the final perspective that we take is we analyze trends in the user community to see what users are talking about. We don't want to pick on one-off review. We want to pick on some of the trends that we are seeing consistently across the reviews. So that's the process that we take for this specific session. Now, we are going to start with our panelist intro. Phil, would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure. Hi, everybody. I'm Phil Kerper, Managing Director of Ringling Business Solutions, coming off of 20 years plus as CEO in mid-market manufacturing companies, and founded this company to help CEOs and executive management teams balance their core business plans with their digital transformation strategy. Really great to be here.
Okay, amazing. Thank you so much, Phil. Dave, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, happy to, Sam. Thanks. Hey, everybody. My name is Dave Chrysler, and I own a company called the Chrysler Club, where we work with business owners to help them create the systems needed to shift from working in their business to working on their business. I come with more than 20 years in the manufacturing space, and happy to be here. Thanks for having me, Sam.
Okay, amazing. Thank you so much for being here, Dave. Angela, would you like to go next for your intro?
Oh, certainly, Sam. Hi, everyone. I'm Angela Thurman. I am the owner of the Thurman Company, a project management consulting firm in Houston. I am a project management professional with more than 20 years of project management experience, primarily in aerospace and telecommunications, most recently with a large U.S. aerospace company in supply chain management. Thank you, Sam.
Okay, amazing. Thank you so much for your intro, Angela. Andy, can I move to you next for your intro?
I'd love to, Sam. My name's Andy Pratico. I've been involved in ERP software for manufacturing companies for 4 decades. And I've worked with manufacturers all over Canada, all over the United States. I lived in the US for 10, 11 years. And like Angela, I actually specialized in systems for aerospace contractors, government contractors, when I was down there. I've published a book on how to evaluate and how to select the right ERP software, and that's me. Thank you very much, Sam.
Okay, thank you so much, Andy, for the intro. And now we are going to move to today's stories. And the first story that we have is coming from a company called Accenture. And I don't know if you guys are familiar with Accenture. Obviously, they are one of the humongous consulting companies. And one of the things that you are going to notice is we don't really cover the consulting companies as part of this platform because our focus is going to be more on the product and their capabilities. But today, this story is very unique overall from the market perspective. That's why we have Accenture here. So Accenture, and I don't know whether you guys remember the news of EAM offering from Infor being sold to one of the other company in Coke portfolio. They recently did that. They did that for a strategic reason because obviously Coke actually wants to go full blown with ERP capability, and then EAM offering, I don't believe it really fit in with their strategy. So they wanted to transfer this offering to your Industry 4.0 buddies in their portfolio. So now they are trying to take the similar strategy as what Rockwell has taken with Plex, which is going to be today's topic. Okay, so most of the hardware vendors, especially the players that are going to be in the control system space that are really supporting the Industry 4.0 community, their goal is going to be to deepen their capabilities in terms of software. And that's exactly what Coke did. So here, what Accenture is trying to do is they are trying to deepen their capabilities in the Infor EAM portfolio because that's where Industry 4.0 money is. So here they are one of the leading Infor EAM consultant company. I believe they are from the UK, and you guys can correct me if I am off here, but they are really the EAM bar. That's my understanding. And they have acquired, I can almost guarantee that they had the EAM capability before, but with this acquisition, they are going to get the talent, they are going to get the processes of these VARs and obviously their customers as well. And here the comment is actually coming from Accenture that at Boco is highly respected for its talent, expertise, and training program. In this space, together we'll bring Infor EAM capabilities to clients at scale to take advantage of a growing market opportunity. And we all know that Industry 4.0 is obviously a growing market opportunity. The next story is coming from our friends at QAD. And QAD has announced the general availability of the new QAD adaptive ERP update. So this is really an update. It's not really a release. So basically here, what they have done is the new supplier relationship management functionalities available in this update will provide. So I don't think the SRM capabilities that they had were integrated with the solution, I guess. So they are trying to integrate that in this update will provide manufacturers and their suppliers a streamlined point of entry for facilitating real-time communication, improve processes, and reduce inbound supply risks. Other QAD adaptive ERP updates include the QAD sourcing solution, which introduces new capabilities for automating the source to contract process and a foreign trade zone solution to help companies establish and manage FTZs and warehousing operations. Here, I am happy to announce the addition of QAD sourcing and QAD supplier relationship management to our integrated supplier management capabilities. In the QAD session, guys, when we reviewed their capabilities, obviously they had very deep supply chain capabilities, but I don't think we saw if they had anything related to supplier relationship management. They had a lot of capabilities in terms of supplier collaboration, but supplier relationship management is going to be slightly different, which is going to be think of the CRM, the way your CRM works for the customer relationship. This is how your SRM is going to work. It goes fairly deep overall in terms of capability, the way CRM goes deeper in CRM capabilities. And this one, QAD Adaptive Application Solutions portfolio, including our QAD Dynassist Digital Supply Chain Planning and QAD Precision Global Trade and Transportation Execution capabilities. So this is the part, see, this is their TMS portfolio. This is their global trade and compliance portfolio. So these capabilities are going to be integrated as part of that capability. Obviously, they had really, really deep, international capability, transportation management capabilities. They had very deep international trade management capabilities, but now they are also going to get the SRM functionality as part of their portfolio, which makes it one of the strongest supply chain solution from the supply chain perspective. If you're looking for an ERP, obviously QAD is a big deal there.
We discussed a lot of these topics last week, didn't we, Sam, in our episode last week?
We did, but I don't think the SRM capabilities were included. They were not integrated with the core offering. So in this update, they have integrated the SRM capabilities.
Yeah, I think we even highlighted this area as a potential area where they were underdeveloped a little bit. So obviously they knew that too.
Yes.
Okay. I guess they were listening to you last week, Phil.
Did I tag them? I guess I might have.
All right, guys. So if you guys don't have any other comments, we have the next story coming from Sage. And as we all know, the way Sage positioning is in the market, their sweet spot is always going to be accountants. That's what they like to go after. So their acquisition strategy is going to be around the accounting influencers and the accountants, because they actually bring them the largest dollars. Okay, they are the makers. So here, what Sage has done from the acquisition perspective, when the other vendors in the market, they are trying to go deeper in their vertical capabilities, they are trying to get deeper, let's say in the supply chain or the industry 4.0 capabilities. What Sage is trying to do, Sage is very different animal, in the ERP world. They are trying to please their accountants. Okay, so if you look at the acquisition that they have done, they have acquired a vendor called GoProposal, a UK-based provider of proposal management software for small and mid-sized accountancy firms. So when you think of quoting and proposal, we saw in case of Epicor last time, Epicor acquired the quoting solution for their micro vertical. In their case, they are acquiring a quoting solution for their channel partners. They are going to be their customers as well, but they are primarily channel partners in my mind. So that's how the Sage is positioned. That's how their acquisition strategy is. This acquisition, the fourth fintech investment by Sage in the last 12 months, reflects Sage's commitment to delivering ongoing innovation to its accounting partners. Guys, partners is a keyword here. Okay, so obviously they are doing a lot of acquisition for their partners when other ERP vendors are doing for their customers.
I think considering Sage's majority of their target market, that's a great strategy.
I agree. So if you guys don't have any other comments, the other news that we have is coming from Oracle. And Oracle is actually trying to expand their locations in terms of data centers. We all saw in case of Oracle session that Oracle is definitely experiencing very high triple-digit growth in their cloud portfolio. Some of that is a result of their ERP offering, because obviously ERP offering is actually growing significantly as well, and that must be driving a lot of cloud revenue. So now they have to add a lot of data centers, okay, which is kind of a good news, because if you really think about it, We never thought that, OCI or Oracle Cloud is going to be as big as your Amazon, Microsoft, or Google. And we were sort of wondering, okay, what is going to happen to Oracle, let's say, if they don't succeed in their cloud business? But now they are growing really fast, okay, which is very exciting for the cloud market.
On this one, I was just going to say, Sam, it's just good news for everybody that there's going to be, now at least 4+ really viable large cloud companies that can be utilized, especially if the competitiveness gets a little dicey with some of them. It'll give people choices. It's really good news.
I completely agree. I mean, I definitely am not a big fan of having just 3 telco companies or 3 aerospace companies. The more we have, especially the bigger size, the better overall for the economy, as well as for the market.
And Sam, this is real cloud, not fake cloud.
Well, so that is very subjective. Okay, so this is cloud infrastructure. Okay?
Yes. Yeah.
You got a feisty group tonight, Sam.
I know, right? Everybody just want to have fun with me.
I mean, even Angela's getting in on it.
See, look at it. All right, guys, so we have the next story coming from our friends at ECI. And I think we are going to be doing a session on ECI. But as we have noticed, ECI is going hard at the market. They are really aggressive with their acquisition strategy. And one of the things that you are going to notice that, okay, you have never seen smaller players such as ECI going so hard with acquisition. What is happening with them right now? Okay, you will never see companies like, Global Shop or Pro Shop or, in the news that they are acquiring companies left and right, because obviously they are not going to have as much cash. But in case of ECI, one thing to notice, and that's a differentiator, guys. When a company is going to be owned by private equity, when a company is going to be publicly funded, they are going to have very different strategy overall in the market. In this particular case, ECI, I don't know whether you guys paid attention or not, ECI is owned by a private equity company. And they are very hungry, very aggressive. They are following similar strategy as Epicor. The way Epicor grew in the market, they are trying to acquire the smaller segments, like the smallest of the smallest, okay, in the micro vertical. And they are trying to become sort of the small vertical cloud. So in this particular case, if you actually pay attention to the market segment in which they have acquired a company, that is similar to your Epicor strategy, what Epicor did last week. Okay, so here ECI has acquired a UK-based developer of the eCommon Sense platform, a market-leading e-commerce and product data management solution specifically designed for lumber and building materials, guys. If you remember, Epicor is going after lumber and building materials. They're really strong. So I don't know whether ECI's goal is to become as big as Epicor. I don't know what's going on, but they definitely are looking up to Epicor as their role model and following similar strategy, which is very exciting. So lumber and building materials, hardware, home center, related home supply dealers. Now, eCommon Sense integrates with the most common business management systems so that building supplier can improve efficiency, grow profitably, and increase customer satisfaction. eCommon Sense will join ECI's. Guys, if you remember last time, ECI had acquired, if I remember correctly, Andy, correct me if I'm off here. ECI had acquired DCOM, and that actually went to their manufacturing division, if I remember correctly. Now, this is going to, so what ECI has done from the corporation perspective or from the corporate strategy perspective, their business is actually structured around these micro verticals. So each of the verticals are going to be focused on the specific micro industry. So this particular offering is going with your ECI's LBM and hardlines group. They call it as LBM and hardlines. And the reason why they have structured it this way is because obviously building material and lumber industry extremely unique overall in terms of the kind of capabilities they require, and that's why they have structured it this way, which will leverage eCommon Sense as both an integration to its cloud-based ERP solutions as well as a standalone global e-commerce solution. So they want to go after the standalone e-commerce market as well, obviously with the hope that they can sell ERP later on. So they want to penetrate the market with the e-commerce and then finally sell the ERP. ECI's vision is to be the world leader in vertically specific cloud software solutions while always delivering new value to our customers and market. Okay, so that's a lot of fluff there. That's okay. Customers and the LBM industry, the e-commerce capabilities, they need to stay competitive in today's market. Okay, that's also a lot of fluff.
Well, it's interesting that that ECI is in some ways mimicking what Epicor has been doing. I'm not sure if you know the history of Epicor and the history of ECI, but one of their ECI's flagship product is one called M1. And 25 years ago, M1 and Epicor were the same product.
Very interesting.
There was, I know, that shows you how old I am, but they were owned, Epicor was owned by a husband and wife. They split up, and the wife started M1. And it's ECI today. So it's interesting they're coming back together again with similar strategies.
So Andy, the only thing I'm trying to do here is I am trying to analyze financial statements. But dude, you are actually trying to analyze families here.
Not meaning to do that. Thank you for correcting me.
Well, one other comment on this, and it's kind of the theme of all of these news stories the past many weeks, is they're going for breadth or depth. And in this case, they're going for depth into that micro vertical, as you like to refer to it, Sam. And I think that's really good for customers when they go for depth. When they go for breadth, I always wonder whether they're getting outside of their lane a little bit. And I think we'll see that a little bit with Plex today. So it's nice to see in a couple of these articles, they've focused on a customer vertical, and they're trying to get really deep into that solution, which means more out of the box features, less programming, less implementation, hassles all along. So good stuff.
I agree completely, Phil. As a matter of fact, that the comment about chasing that specific vertical, micro vertical, whereas the ECI products were mostly manufacturing centric previously, it's an interesting combination.
Yeah, I kind of agree. And guys, one of the challenges that I always have had is, overall what an ERP is, to be honest. When you are going to create a system like Plex, which is going to work only in one vertical, sometimes I have hard time relating if this is a real ERP or it is really an app. An ERP is supposed to work for many different businesses. So when you sort of verticalize yourself, you sort of lose the diversification, and that diversification is actually going to be bottleneck, especially with the kind of businesses we have as of today. I mean, it's very rare to find a business that is only going to be doing lumber these days. Most of the businesses, and I have seen some of the crazy scenarios in the market, guys. Some of the automotive companies, can you believe this? Okay, automotive companies are trying to sell AI, like the real AI software that ERP companies are struggling to sell. Now they are selling an AI offering. So, and this is the same story with Rockwell acquiring Plex. Now they are selling ERP. They have never sold an ERP system historically. They don't know how sales works of ERP systems, but now they are trying to sell an ERP solution. So obviously, from the business process perspective, from the ERP perspective, the businesses are becoming more diverse. The kind of transactions you are going to have from your ERP sales and selling a sensor or control system in the market, it's going to be a very different sales order. It's going to be a very different sales process. So now when you are going to be buying an ERP system, if you buy an ERP system that is going to be super micro verticalized, then if you, let's say, acquire another business for your strategic reasons, then it's not going to work because the ERP system was designed, let's say, for automotive market in case of Plex. So that is my personal challenge overall in terms of how deep do you want to go versus how broad you want to go in terms of the ERP system. So I'll give you a little brief about Plex, before we dig deeper into this. So one of the things that you are going to notice with Plex, they have had similar strategy as Acumatica. Okay, Plex is known to be one of the oldest player, I would say, in the cloud market. They have always believed in cloud before anybody else did in the market.
They were the first, weren't they? Except for NetSuite, I suppose.
When did they start? My understanding is they started somewhere in 2013 or something. They really started.
I thought it was earlier than that, Sam.
Yeah. So yeah, they are definitely one of the first ones. They were really aggressive. Some people were sort of claiming that they are in the cloud, but Plex always had this cloud offering to begin with. And by the way, they not only had the cloud offering, they had the cloudy business model. before your Acumatica did. Acumatica started commercializing the idea of the real cloud. And what real cloud means is your unlimited users, the consumption based model. That's what, financially speaking, operationally speaking, if you want to think from the business model perspective, the unlimited users and the consumption based model was the whole premise of sort of the software as a service offering, right? So Plex started doing this from the early days. They are still very much in that space where you are going to get unlimited users and you are going to pay based on consumption. Now, the consumption based model is extremely tricky to work with if you don't understand how to estimate your total cost of ownership for the consumption based model. So we are going to dig into all of that. And if you look at the Plex offering, it appears very cloud native. Okay, so this is where we have that debate of fake cloud versus real cloud. Angela, we have seen some of the reviews where a lot of people are complaining about the UX. But if I look at their screens, they are one of the best. Okay, they are designed really well. In fact, QAD commercializes their offering as one of the adoptable UX. But if you actually look at the real user experience of Plex, it's mind blowing, guys. It's really pretty. It's done well if you pay attention to their screens. Plex started as one of the best solution in a very specific micro vertical. They were always known as the automotive solution. And a lot of you might remember from their strategy perspective, I think if you look at their offering, they were the only one who were the first company that really thought from the industry 4.0 perspective, from the operator's perspective, from the shop floor perspective. Before Plex, I don't know if any of the companies were really worrying about the OT side of needs. And that's why if you actually look at the industry 4.0 community, they are big fan of Plex. They don't even understand. They have never even heard of the ERP, let's say. But I mean, right now they are going to be super excited about Plex. The only ERP system they want in their companies is going to be Plex, just because that's what they understand, that's what they can relate with. For them, they are not going to worry about the accounting or the supply chain or the marketing. That's your department. You guys figure it out. But if you're looking from my perspective, then I want Plex in my company. So depending upon the decision maker for a specific ERP system, if the operations guys are going to be the decision maker for an ERP system, obviously they are going to be liking Plex a lot. If there is going to be supply chain team that is going to be making decisions, they are most likely going to be liking, let's say, QAD a lot, because that is designed from the supply chain perspective. But if you look at the overarching perspective for the majority of the ERP system, if you're looking for the comprehensive perspective, then you are going to like probably some of the more diverse solutions. So
I think a little bit quite similar strategy as IQMS in some ways, whereas IQMS is for plastics.
Yes, you are right. In fact, I mean, see, we are going to draw some comparisons, the way IQMS operated and how Plex operated. So one of the things that you're going to notice, and we are going to review that in one of the slides, is Plex is very focused on Toyota ecosystem. And as you guys know, the way, and this is the comment that is coming from, you have just 3 major automotive manufacturers, you have 2 major aerospace manufacturers, and they are driving the entire economy. So if you look at the Toyota ecosystem, if you design a system for Toyota ecosystem, I don't know how many suppliers are going to be there in Toyota. Phil or Dave, if you guys are going to have any insight in that, but they'll have more than 3,000 suppliers, I guess, or maybe more. In Toyota, right?
Well, if a company is a tier supplier or is working within the Toyota production system processes, they technically need to take that process all the way to their small suppliers. So you could get a very expanded base of people that are part of this process. And since they're probably smaller and a supplier up into a higher tier, probably being forced onto a Plex platform or at least onto that process.
And that's exactly the mindset these companies are following, that if I design a system for Toyota and if I can get Toyota's attention, obviously I can get 3,000 customers. So that's the thought process.
And I'm speaking on a little larger frame. Lean manufacturing, lean process originated as the Toyota production system.
Yes.
There's a book written by a person who I won't get his name right, but it's a little orange book. It's the original Toyota production book. That is what created the lean revolution. And so that's not just Toyota. That's a lot of companies that have used that process.
Yeah, exactly. But I mean, from the corporate strategy perspective, every ERP company out there want to go after the private equity companies because, once they get one company in their portfolio, most likely they are going to install that ERP system in their entire portfolio. So here the thought process has, if I install this for Toyota, obviously the other segments are going to be equally relevant, as you correctly pointed out, Phil. But obviously the Toyota is going to have very specific process, and we are going to review all of that. That Toyota does have very specific process, even if the ERP system can support the lean processes. But Toyota is going to have, hey supplier, I want you to do this. I want this report in this specific format, or I'm not going to work with you. I want you to be always green in my dashboard. If you're not green, I'm going to kick you out from the system. Okay, so and now Honda is not going to exactly copy Toyota. They are going to be slightly different. So anybody
so Sam, if I could interject for just a minute. So as Phil mentioned, the Toyota process originated at Toyota manufacturing, but the Toyota process is now flowed out to many, many manufacturers. And when we talk about the Toyota process, we don't necessarily anymore mean that it is restricted only to Toyota manufacturing.
Yeah, that's such an important distinction. For example, single piece flow, which is one of the fundamentals, or 5S, which is another fundamental building block of lean manufacturing, and those came right out of. I had the orange book. I mean, they had 5S right there in the book. Now that is across all industries as a way to organize and utilize your work areas better and get efficiency. And this Plex process mirrors that process.
Just to be clear, guys, if a building material company might be utilizing Toyota process for their manufacturing, it does not mean that Plex is going to work for their needs, because it's a very different business and they need a very different ERP system. So sure, you can all have Toyota manufacturing process. That's not a problem. But from the ERP perspective, okay, you want to go after the ecosystem, because typically each of the ecosystems are going to operate in one fashion. Their purchase order, their sales orders are going to look very similar. When you talk about, let's say, Boeing ecosystem, or when you talk about Honda ecosystem, Honda is going to have slightly different process. Obviously, they are automotive, so they are going to be similar overall in the manufacturing processes. But the way they operate, the way their customer experiences, it's going to be slightly different. And that's why if you actually look at the IQMS documents, they are Honda certified. They had mentioned it there, if you guys remember. There is something called Honda certified. So when Honda is going to put their stamp, even though the manufacturing process could be similar, they might still be following the Toyota lean manufacturing processes, because that's for everybody in automotive. But what is going to work for Toyota does not mean that it's going to work for Honda as well. So that's how the mindset is overall from the ERP perspective, guys. So we are going to look at the industries, that Plex is trying to position. By the way, one of the things that you are going to notice is 90% of the ERP companies are actually presenting their industries alphabetically. And while Plex is amazing overall in their marketing strategy, in my opinion, I think they still have their industries spelled alphabetically. And this was a shock for me, because when I looked at it, I was like, okay, you are not strong at aerospace. Come on, buddy. That should be the last option that you should be highlighting. But aerospace is the first one. Okay, so that is one observation. I don't know if that is in the marketing community, in tech, everybody does this, but this is definitely slightly off in my mind.
Well, I think that Angela was the astute one to notice that originally, but it's interesting that these companies will do this alphabetically, which kind of when your assumption is that they must be specialists in aerospace. So therefore, they're going to attract an audience outside of their normal target. And I really think that it's a psychological reasoning they're doing that.
Yeah. In my opinion, I think Angela should be creating a marketing consulting firm to coach these tech manufacturers to teach them marketing, because they obviously don't know how to position their products and how to drive the user experience on their own websites when they are trying to position themselves as the product that provides user experience for their shop floor workers. Okay, so we are going to be discussing the case studies first. Okay, so one of the things that I noticed in their case study, so obviously, as we noticed in the industry section, they have many different industries, and sometimes it could be harder for anybody to analyze, okay, which industries you are really strong at. One of the places that I always like to look at, okay, how many case studies do you have? Okay, if you are positioning yourself publicly, okay, you might have 20, 30, 50, 40, whatever. Okay, you are only going to obviously present the happiest customers. You are not going to present any of your upset customers, right? So, okay, so let's take the happy example here. So, in the happy example, so I did a little analysis in terms of which are the industries where they have the case study. So, here, the majority of their case studies are in the automotive space, even though automotive is the second option on their menu in the industry. Okay, so here I would say they have roughly what, 3, 6, 7 case studies in the automotive. Surprisingly enough, they don't have any case studies for the food and beverage market. Okay, they had only 4, even though they had 7 industries listed on their menu. They did not have any case study publicly supported for all of those industries. For food and beverage, it's kind of embarrassing. You have the menu option, but you don't have any case study. Okay, so so basically either you don't have good customers in the food and beverage space, or there's something off here. I don't know what's going on. But the second largest vertical that I would guess, from this analysis, the second one is going to be metal forming, which is very interesting. One of the things that I have personally noticed in some of the industries, when you do really well, let's say in automotive, the next logical industry for them seems to be the one that does a lot of tracing. Okay, so for these companies, they are doing a lot of metal forming because they need to trace their minerals. They need to do a lot of different tracing, right? And surprisingly enough, when you are going to be in pure discrete vertical, and you are probably going to be thinking in your head that if you are doing really well in discrete, you would be choosing a next discrete industry. But that's not the case. Okay, we have seen in case of IQMS, we have seen in case of QAD, all of them are trying to target food and beverage for some reason. Okay, so you have really deep discrete vertical, and then you are going after really deep process vertical for some reason. And I think the underlying thread here is going to be the traceability functionality that they have built as part of the product that you are not going to find in your SAPs, maybe in our, not even in Oracle, not even in Microsoft. You have to build this, guys. So that could be the underlying thread, but I could be off. This is my
Well, you're mentioning, you're calling this metal forming, and that is the sub vertical there. But the bottom left-hand corner of those 6 is a stamping shop. So this is making an assumption, but I'll bet you those 6 are all automotive metal forming shops.
That's definitely could be right. So I would say, they are targeting some of the make to stock verticals. So most of the ones that we have seen so far, especially QAD, IQMS, the ones that actually like to go direct, that don't have very strong partner channel, they all seem to be really deep in the make to stock functionality. They are not as strong in the make to order or the engineer to order functionality. That's my observation, but you're right. So if you're going after stamping, the automotive is the correlation, as well as some of the not so complex products, I would say. The other ones that they have done really well in case of electronics requires a lot of tracing, guys. They also have very international presence as well. So they have just one case study. I don't know if that is really a focus or it's just sitting right there because they did just one customer. I don't know, man.
Is that one company, is it electronics? It looks like it's a machine shop with the way the sparks are flying.
You are right, but it is no, it's actually industrial materials and electronics. So,
okay.
Yeah, again, that's a marketing flaw, I guess.
Right. Industrial materials could mean a lot of things. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, so I don't know what Camco does, to be honest, but this is definitely flagged under high tech.
But they all look like, Andy, to your earlier point, they all look like either subs in the automotive or other companies that are in a very similar type of business, whether they're a tier sub to the automotive or not. Those are all automotive stuff. Yeah. Stamping, all of it.
Guys, I think that kind of, just to jump in here, I think that kind of proves the point that Sam was trying to articulate a little bit earlier when we got into the lean discussion. Sam, don't mean to speak for you, but I think that's really the point you were trying to articulate is, as these companies are going to market, they're really looking to connect with the high level the high level connection that is ultimately going to lead to many more sub-suppliers that are going to come onto the same platform.
Exactly. Thank you so much, Dave. And by the way, I mean, we have a conclusion, guys. And Phil, you are absolutely right that they are super strong in automotive, and we are going to see if they have won anywhere else, if they are as deep anywhere else. That's what. So yes, automotive, go with Plex because they are going to have really deep functionality. By the way, when we say automotive, Toyota ecosystem, not Honda. Okay, they are not going to have. They will purposely not have bells and whistles because Honda is going to do everything to make sure there is going to be a little bit of differentiation from Toyota. So obviously their processes are going to be slightly different. Okay. Now, if you look at their product, the way their product is offered, this is their product offering overall on the subscription page. So guys, the way their product is positioned, if you actually pay attention, their first go-to-market is always going to be core MES. If you look at from the ERP perspective, okay, ERP companies like to say, hey, I am finance first. Okay, I am probably, a little bit of distribution supply chain, but here they are saying I am MES first. Okay, I can do everything related to industry 4.0, but if you need, I can also do ERP. So that's how they are trying to position themselves from the marketing perspective. So we are going to see if they are a real ERP system or they are a real MES system. Because from the R&D perspective, that's where they are going to invest a lot more dollars because this is what marketing is saying. Marketing is saying, go for MES, develop MES as strong as possible because nobody else has that in the market. And by the way, some more observations. They also have some of the HCM capabilities built as part of MES, and that's very unique. Some of the challenges that you are going to face in case of your automotive is going to be your certification tracking, making sure right guys are going to be at the right place. And sometimes that could be a challenge if your HCM system is going to be completely different. So they have a little, tiny module overall from the HCM perspective that sits right inside MES, which is interesting. HCM injury tracking is a very interesting component as well. I don't know if any of the ERP or MES systems have this built as part of it, but obviously automotive is going to require all of this if they actually want to run their businesses. And obviously they have all the bells and whistles that you are going to require from your industry 4.0 or from the MES perspective, but they are going to be super lean overall in the ERP functionality. Now, let's look at their MES. So we have concluded that obviously MES is their strong suite, right? So, but when Gartner actually analyzed their MES capabilities, and now they have not identified whether these were sort of the enterprise customers or what were the variables in this specific Magic Quadrant. But one thing is clear that this is the Magic Quadrant for all of the MES systems that we have. And by the way, this is the latest Magic Quadrant for 2021. And here, if you actually pay attention, Plex is positioned as the challenger. Now, I don't know if they are in the challenger quadrant because they are very focused in the automotive. Because when you look at the breadth of the MES systems, sometimes Gartner might be saying, if you need to be slightly more versatile, if you want to be leader here so that you can work with a lot of different industries, I'll give you a spot here in the challenger quadrant because you are really good at one industry, but I'm not going to call you leader because you don't work for everybody. So I don't know what is the thought process here, but that's how I would conclude based on this Magic Quadrant that obviously they are not getting the leader status. So any of the SAP shops, if they are going to be buying the MES, obviously they are not going to be buying Plex. They are going with something like theirs because obviously they are going to have far deeper need if Fortune 500 is actually looking for a very robust MES. So obviously Plex is not going to be a player there. So now based on this, I don't know how strong they are overall in their MES capabilities as well.
Well, it's interesting that Rockwell is right there overlapping theirs a little bit.
I was going to say the same thing.
Yeah.
That's fascinating. So somehow those two, is from Gartner's standpoint, they see those two as the same thing.
So if the funny thing about Gartner is Gartner does not really understand, what is a fake cloud and real cloud. That's the problem with Gartner. So if you actually pay attention to this, Rockwell is going to be your fake cloud and Plex is probably going to be your real cloud. That is going to be your shiny boy that is sitting because Gartner, the only thing Gartner cares for is the features and functions. They don't have development background. They don't have programming background to be able to understand what is a real cloud and what is going to be the nuances of the fake cloud when a business is going to be installing that. So in my opinion, I think Rockwell is going to be that clunky, ugly solution that is sitting. And the reason why they have acquired Plex is because obviously Plex is a shiny boy. Okay, guys, I'll actually move to the next one. So here, guys, okay, this is their datasheet filter on their site as of today. Okay, so in the datasheet, the very first thing that you are going to notice now, if you are talking to an ERP company, your expectation, if I am buying an ERP, my expectation is going to be, hey, I am buying ERP. Tell me, what do you have in your ERP? The very first data sheet that you are going to get in case of Plex, that is going to be Toyota, because that is what their market is, guys. They have data sheet for all of those Toyota suppliers and anybody that is going to be part of the Toyota ecosystem. They are not even calling this as, automotive or automobile. They are calling it as Toyota because that's what they care for. That's where they win most. Okay, they have some other data sheets that are really, really interesting, but the majority of them are really heavy on Toyota, the way Toyota ecosystem works.
It's interesting that their data sheet on quality on QA is for food and beverage, whereas they didn't have any testimonials in the previous slide. You'd think they would have automotive QA management.
Well, so data sheets are going to be created based on the demand by the customers, right? So wherever they are trying to differentiate, I guess, that's how the marketing dollars are spent, in my opinion. So here, obviously, they are doing some business in the food and beverage space, and we are going to see all of that. Even though they don't have public case studies, I don't know if they are working, for those customers. Sometimes if they don't work for the customers, they are not going to have very happy case studies. And that could be the reason why they don't have it. But they definitely have very deep functionality in food and beverage. So we'll move to the next slide. Here, guys, if you look at some of the data sheets related to Toyota, you are going to find some of the very unique functionality that you are not going to find anywhere else. So guys, you can tell me, you guys have far more experience in the automotive or aerospace. Here we have some of the things such as support for Toyota shipping confirmation system. Guys, this is even branded. Okay, this is Toyota brand here. Okay, built-in EDI to facilitate Toyota supplier relationship. The EDI messages that they are going to have are going to be very unique. So you need to have that support, or you are going to be investing a lot of dollars in understanding how to map those EDI messages and how to communicate with Toyota. And if you are a small shop, obviously you are not going to have that money to hire these consultants who can map this for you, and then you can run your business. So obviously this is a huge differentiator that you are not going to find with any other ERPs. RFID labeling of returnable containers. Again, this is a very unique functionality in my opinion. If you have seen it anywhere else, let me know. Serialized container tracking and traceability with Kanban labeling. Very deep automotive, in my opinion. It can manifest information. I don't know if any other industries are going to use this. Cellular manufacturing. Again, it's very automotive centric. There might be some other verticals that might be doing a lot of cellular manufacturing, but they are going to be similar to your automotive overall in the production process, in my opinion. Quick changeovers in case of automotive. Changeovers matters a lot, and you need to have the deep capabilities to be able to support that, or you are going to be losing a lot of money if you are not able to do that.
So Sam, all of those items, cellular manufacturing, TPM, quick changeover, 5S, suggestion systems, and lean, those are also used throughout aerospace manufacturing. RFID tracking of parts, not containers, is common in aerospace. But I agree that the RFID tracking of skids and containers, that does sound very specific to automotive.
So seems like based on how you are describing, Angela, the assumption here is going to be whatever can work for automotive can also work for aerospace.
Similar. Mm-hmm.
Right. So we are going to look at one of the reviews from one of the users from aerospace. Obviously, this is very deep in automotive. If you are going to look at any of the review from automotive, they are going to be super fascinated. People are going to be blown away, the way the system works. But if you look at the aerospace, they cannot even do basic things. That's how different aerospace vertical is from the ERP perspective. The whole production process is completely different. The way forecasting works is completely different. It's a very different beast. Aerospace is completely different.
Agreed.
Okay, so we are going to move to the next one. So, Toyota shipping confirmation system integration, and I wanted to pay attention to the specifics of this piece of functionality, if this is going to be different overall from the ERP perspective, this is very unique. I mean, again, this will be a very hard lift. Let's say if I am trying to implement this on a vanilla ERP system, it's going to be tricky. I don't know what your feelings are going to be, guys. But things like integration with your existing IHS market, light vehicle forecast subscription, if that comes out of the box, obviously your forecasting is going to be easier. Obviously, the demand planning is going to be big in case of your automotive. You don't have as many challenges when it comes to demand forecasting. In case of aerospace, because of the volume, because of the amount of data, the automotive is it has different challenges. Obviously, aerospace is complex as well. Automotive has unique challenges.
Well, it's interesting they're so focused on Toyota because, and a little expanded on a couple earlier points made. Okay, suppliers in the automotive industry rarely are just supplying one of the majors, especially as you get up to tier 2, tier 1. You know, if by the time you get qualified as that level of an automotive supplier, you're probably supplying Honda, Toyota, Ford, GM, whomever, a variety of suppliers, and they're long-term agreements. And most of these systems, it's been my experience, are not in the ERP. They've cobbled together over the years a quality system. They've got their market forecast, which is the one you meant here, the IS market forecast, and they've cobbled this into a way to kind of manage the demand of their business. This is a very different look at this. This is saying in the ERP, we're going to have functionality very specific to a specific supplier. And I still don't have my mind wrapped around why that's a good idea for them. Even if they have that functionality as a marketing standpoint, I don't get why that's a good idea.
For Plex, is that what you're saying?
If I'm strong in automotive,
yeah,
I want to be strong with and my strategy, as we talked about easier, is to go deeper into the supply chain, which is where my pyramid's going to grow more and more customers because there's more suppliers versus just selling to Toyota, for example. Okay, as I get into that supply chain, these guys aren't just supplying Toyota. They're supplying a variety of auto manufacturers. So why is their ERP feature set and their stack so focused on one of the majors?
Let's take a step back and let's think from different perspectives. Number one, what does Toyota want? Toyota want all of their suppliers to be only supplying to Toyota. That's what Toyota want. What do suppliers want? Suppliers want to actually diversify their business. Now, what does Plex want? Plex want to sell their software as much as possible in the easiest manner. Now, if Toyota wants to approve any of the software to their suppliers, it has to be very Toyota specific. Then only they are really going to approve. So obviously, if you look at from the sales strategy perspective of the ERP company, which is Plex wants to make it as easy as possible for the Toyota suppliers. Obviously, this ERP system is not going to work for every contract manufacturer. Let's say if they are doing 30% of the business with Toyota, but rest of your business is somewhere else. But let's say if Toyota is your demanding customer and you are trying to please Toyota, you are probably going to be buying Plex, and you are probably going to be watching your competitors. Hey, my competitors just bought Plex. I'm going to have Plex. Now, your competitor may have very different business because they might have, let's say, 90% of the automotive business applying to Toyota, but you are just a contract manufacturer. You may have 20% business, and now Plex is not going to work for you.
Yeah, I agree with that 100%. I'm just saying that reality is self-limiting to their market penetration by the way that they're developing and presenting the product.
Yeah, I agree. Okay, so let's move to the next slide. So we have some more capabilities. Again, these are going to be the advanced supply chain planning. If you look at any of the capabilities that are still going to be very automotive specific, they do a lot of demand planning supply chain. The way we saw in case of QAD, obviously QAD is very strong in automotive as well. So all of the feature sets that we saw in case of QAD are probably going to be similar here as well. They are going to have the default support for your PPAP module that we saw in case of QAD. But again, QAD was not positioned only for Toyota. Okay, so here you are going to get the only compliance that you are going to have. And this is, by the way, the quality management capabilities data sheet. In their case, they are saying that I have 16949. I don't have anything for, let's say, food or any other verticals that I have showed you. I'm going to have just this, and just because I am really the automotive solution. Now, let's look at their product and program management. Now, this is very unique for me. I have never seen this before, to be honest, being called as the product and program management. Maybe this is called, in case of your automotive industry, to be honest, this is a very, construction centric, the software development centric, or maybe the food R&D kind of term. I don't know. I have not seen a lot of manufacturing companies using product management or program management term. But this is the ERP functionality that they have by default. And I have not seen this as part of any of the data sheets. But this is slightly more your PLM integration, the collaboration with all of the players and the suppliers, and the way you are actually going to be running your program, right? So a lot of ERP systems are going to claim, but they are not really going to call them as the product and program management, because they are not going to have all the bells and whistles to be able to track your product and program management that you are going to require, number one, financially, number two, operationally.
So Sam, I think it's interesting that they've got document control system to provide access to the latest revisions of the documents, and this apparently is going to avoid having the wrong version available to, I would assume, to suppliers and also your workforce.
Yeah. So Angela, on the document management, every single manufacturing software out there is probably going to claim that they have these features. Now,
yes.
How integrated those features are going to be, whether you can really create your quality documentation right inside your ERP is going to be a question. And that's what we are going to see in case of your Plex, the way their document management processes are built. They literally have the version control as part of the documentation. And Angela, you are going to absolutely love that features. Okay, so even though, let's say, if you talk about companies like Epicor, Infor, QAD, IQMS, they all are going to claim that, hey, I have document management. But the document management, the way you like to see as the program manager, okay, is going to be very different in case of Plex, and we are going to see the screenshot of those.
I think this may be the term program that they might be using that broadly in and again, it's automotive thinking. Usually it's a platform. I think you could probably call it program. What it basically means is the automobile comes out with the first version, right? It's the first year. And as a sub, you're contracted for the entire life cycle of that product. So in the second year, they'll make a change or they'll do some upgrades. And usually that can last 6+ years till they come out with another vehicle that's brand new. So this looks to me like it's managing the evolution of the product or the platform of cars over that life cycle, which, Angela, that's where this feature of controlled systems and the documents, the secure documents, is vital, because they're constantly making a change. They're constantly changing the subsystems in these automobiles each several years, and the supply chain has to be ahead of that and keeping up with those changes. I think that's what they mean by program, in my opinion.
Field change management is an important part of program management.
Quick comment, guys. If you actually look at the enterprises, to be honest, they keep this functionality inside of your PLM. Okay, that's how traditionally it has been done. If you actually look at the larger enterprises, even if you actually look at the SAP ecosystem, they have a real challenge of integrating all of this, which is going to be your engineering, which is going to be the R&D. And in their case, obviously, their R&D is very integrated with your shop floor, with your production, and that's where the key is. So in their case, in case of SAP, you are not going to have supplier collaboration. To be able to get supplier collaboration, you are probably going to need to hire 50 developers to be able to create this functionality on top of SAP before you can get that. Okay. In their case, they are providing this out of the box, and that's a real differentiator in my mind. Okay. So I am actually going to move forward with some of the other screenshots we have here. Obviously, their MES is going to be super specific with the automotive functionality. You are not going to find things like heat treat in a lot of other ERP systems. Way scale integration, that's very unique. You will find that in the food space, but they have this, and obviously these guys have a little stake in the food and beverage space as well. So obviously that they have this functionality out of the box. Integration with your PLCs, SCADA, obviously they have that because obviously this is your MES system first before they are really ERP. Now, we are going to be looking at some of the, now you are going to think that if Plex is going to be so small, why do they have this multi-entity functionality? And this is really deep multi-entity functionality, to be honest, okay? So this is where you are going to have things like taking advantage of your bulk terms. Okay, when you are trying to integrate multiple entities, so now your thoughts are going to be, QAD can support 66 right out of the box. Now my Plex should be able to do the same. No, because Plex is the North American solution. Okay, it is very deeply penetrated in North America. It does not have as much global localization as QID is going to have. Okay, it is going to have a lot of multi-entity features, but the multi-entity features that it is going to have are going to be specific to just one currency. No, you can have multiple currencies, let's say in the transactions, but not really the localization. So here we are talking about taking advantage of bulk terms from the AP perspective. We are talking about connected entities for cash flow optimization. That's a very hard lift, guys. You are not going to get that when your databases are going to be completely separate. Reconcile bank transactions, across all connected entities. Now, I have not seen this functionality anywhere else so far the ERP system that we have reviewed. Now, that's a harder lift, guys. That's really deep functionality in case of your multi-entity. Customized chart of accounts across multiple entities. Sure, sometimes that is going to be supported, sometimes not, and I don't know what they mean by customization, but yeah, we can take that. Consolidate all or partial set of accounts. Now that's a big deal, guys. If they can do that, obviously their multi-entity functionality is going to be really deep. And by the way, guys, any of the automotive suppliers or the companies that you might know, they all are going to have entity in countries such as Japan. Okay, so that's why they need to have the multi-entity functionality, even if it is going to be a very small supplier that are going to be, let's say, 80 million, $100 million in revenue. They are going to have one of the foreign entity that they are going to be utilizing in their portfolio. Centralized purchasing, issue a consolidated purchase order, guys, taking advantage of bulk purchase term, consistent pricing, single point supplier relationship. Now that's a big deal, guys. That's really hard lift. Okay, we have not seen this in any other data sheets. Issue internal purchase orders among sister companies. That might be supported in a lot of bigger ERP systems, but obviously Plex can do that, all of that. So overall, multi-entity functionality is really deep, guys. Enterprise-wide customer credit limits. Again, that's a big deal. They require that in automotive. I don't know if a lot of ERP systems can support that. This is definitely a very hard lift. Maintain one centralized catalog price list for all items across the enterprise. Not a lot of companies really utilize this, but if they are able to do that, that's phenomenal. Okay, so I'm actually going to move to the next screen. Here, they have a lot of functionality, such as your shelf life. And guys, if you pay attention to the screenshot, it's super pretty, guys. It's super organized. It's really, really good. The shelf life functionality is you are going to see in case of agriculture, in food and beverage, I guess automotive requires this as well. I have seen a lot of friends using that. So if they have that, things like, born on dates. Now, you are not going to find this functionality anywhere else. This is very unique to automotive. Product genealogy, they seem to be using a term called genealogy, which is very the material-centric term, in my opinion. And the reason why they are really using that is because their traceability is really deep. I have not seen this kind of traceability anywhere else. Their product recall functionality is extremely deep, guys, even though a lot of ERP systems might claim that they have that, but this is a real deal. Heat number of raw materials, again, very unique. Very, very unique. License plate number, we have seen that in case of your warehouse functionality in WMS systems, but I don't know if this is going to be similar to that, or automotive companies are going to have slightly different functionality. Splitting and merging of inventory for industry specific applications. Now, I don't know if this is going to be as similar to your kitting or there are other nuances here, but it does seem like, while maintaining accurate product genealogy, that's probably a big deal. Integration with your ASRS systems. I don't know any ERP system that might be able to support that out of the box if they are actually doing that.
A lot of this information is very, very helpful, especially if you're looking for, in the event of a recall or counterfeit parts, anything like that. This could be very helpful in trying to prevent bad product reaching your customer or stopping it in transit, trying to locate it at a warehouse, anything like that. It could, prevent catastrophes. It could prevent loss of life.
Exactly, and these are the things that are going to be super unique in case of your automotive. And if you're going to get vanilla ERP, they will not be able to support, or you need to hire 50 developers to build that functionality. So obviously,
Exactly.
this functionality is extremely unique. So here we are going to look at a couple of reviews quickly. So in this particular case, this is the guy who's from IT, and by the way, this company is really big. There's almost like a $1 billion organization that has reviewed. They have very clearly stated that this is for the North American automotive be ready to put in the work, which means you probably need to do a lot of implementation yourself because they are going direct in the market. They don't really have a lot of consultants who can support this product. So you have to do a lot of heavy lifting yourself. That's what he is trying to imply here. Plex really does push out of improvements and fixes monthly, which is clearly a SaaS product. They have the SaaS delivery model. Plex expects the customer to do the majority of heavy lifting. Plex consultants are for team augmentation, not to directly do any of the work. Guys, the key in ERP implementation is going to be your consultants. Okay, doesn't matter how good your tool is. If you don't have good consultant, your ERP implementation is not going to succeed. So this is a huge issue if they are only going to be there to augment, to mentor, and not to do the actual research and actual work by the customer. So this is a big deal. They provide guidance, direction, bandwidth. They are going to send a bunch of resources, but they are actually not going to be doing the actual implementation. So even though from the cost perspective, it is actually going to sound really affordable and really attractive, but overall the solution is going to be tricky to work with because you have to invest a lot of your internal dollars to be able to implement. So obviously, that is going to be a challenge there. Machine integration to PLC DCS requires a third-party product that then integrates with Plex. Now, if you are really buying a deep MES system, your expectation is going to be that everything is going to be integrated out of the box. That's not true, guys. Here, it requires course engineering solution to be able to connect with your PLCs. That is going to be an option out there. It's going to be a separate contract. It's going to be a separate system that is going to be working with your machines and devices. So obviously, MES is not going to be as deep as we were probably thinking.
Sam, does that mean that without this integration tool, this core engineering tool, it's not going to be able to provide MES, period, or just not with PLCs?
No, the integration requires a lot of components. So if you really need to integrate with machines, obviously you are going to require some more components. So even though Plex is going to position themselves as, hey, I've got MES, you are going to be plug and play on your shop floor. That's not true, guys. In case of hardware interfaces integration, you have a lot more complexity. Each hardware is different. Okay, so even if you are buying an MES system as sophisticated as Plex, you still will require some of the third-party components that are going to be integrating with your hardware components. So again, don't feel that it's going to be a plug and play for you. Now I'm actually going to move to some more reviews here.
But I don't know that that's that different from anything else. I mean, that's a normal implementation of having someone help you choose the instrumentation, choose the process controls, and then create outputs and inputs, and they have to go somewhere, right? And it's just interesting that Plex has not made it integral to their system, that there has to be an interface to take that and deal with the data coming in.
So Phil, on that comment, they are going to have a lot of functionality, to be honest, overall from the dashboard perspective, the workflows that are going to be required from the MES perspective. But when you talk about the actual connectivity, that is still challenging, even if you're going to get really deep MES. So If you're going to get, a vanilla MES from the market, that is probably going to provide you 2 features. In case of Plex, they probably can provide 50, but you still need, those 10 connectivity features with the other vendors in the market when you are actually going to be interfacing with your actual instrumentation. So guys, some of other comments here, that is going to be the accounting is really afterthought. They have clearly mentioned here the product is highly configurable, yet does not require a deep technical skill set to set up. Obviously, any verticalized solution is going to be slightly easier because it does not have as much configurability, guys. From the software development perspective, it's always going to be slightly easier. So Plex is perceived to be easier because you are not going to get as many bells and whistles that can accommodate the features and configurations of many industries. But let's say if Plex actually tries to go for all of those industries, the product is going to be as complex as your other ERP system. So that's how to think about this one. Now, some more reviews here. This is coming from Aerospace. Plex has nearly destroyed our company, and that is not an exaggeration. Part of it, and by the way, this is a recent review from 2020. This is a very small, company. It's not a $1 billion organization that Plex struggled. This is a very small company. Part of it, I could chalk. And by the way, this guy is super informed. He's not a new ERP user, the way he's talking, if you really pay attention to it. Part of it, I could chalk up to a poor implementation via a consulting company. Obviously, their consulting arm is not as strong. the MRP, the routers, the BOMs are completely disjointed. Now, this is a critical point, guys, and we are going to see this in the screenshot. So they don't really have their BOMs completely integrated, which is a big deal for your make to order functionality. So this is why, Angela, whatever is going to work for your automotive, because your products are not going to be as deep, you are not going to require as deep casting as you are going to require in case of your make to order. This is why this is going to be slightly superior for make to stock, but it's going to suck in case of your make to order or engineer to order, especially if this is going to be completely disjointed. You would think that a simple report like a costed BOM would be standard, but that doesn't exist. Now, this is crazy, guys. If this is true, the low cost, all you can eat with unlimited users was attractive. That's why they bought, but obviously it did not work for them. PC MRP, the MRP functionality could not scale. Now, this could be one-off review, but definitely this is coming from aerospace, and this was the only aerospace review that I could find. So obviously it's not going to work for aerospace. Anything posting to inventory, you need to run a month-end batch referred to as score in order to post that activity to general ledger. Now, that's a very hard lift from the user experience perspective. Guys, it's going to, like, I don't know, it is going to feel crazy if anybody is trying to post the inventory transaction. Why does it need to be this complex? Maybe because the way product is designed. So this is a crazy scenario overall in my mind. There is no one place, single place that tracks inventory transactions. It's all in different files that must be accessed separately. Again, these reviews are deep, guys. This is not done by a person who has never used an ERP. Obviously, these guys are super deep with their capabilities in the ERP functionality, and that's why they are super informed with these reviews. Accounting functions appear to have been an afterthought. It's very clear from the review. And by the way, this is from 2019. Here, this user is saying, and by the way, Plex is the only ERP system where I have seen a lot of bad reviews, guys. If you look at their product, you will buy right away. Okay, it's so pretty, it's so sexy. But if you look at reviews, reviews are not telling the same story. So there is a gap there, guys. Okay, so bad news, not much. I cannot do costing without going into test system. Now, this is crazy, guys. Why do you need to go to test system to do the costing? That doesn't make any sense whatsoever. Using a dummy part to change cost just to get an estimate cost for a new product. Also for costing, which does not work for our needs. Engineering modules seem to be way too complicated. So we don't use those as we should be able to. They are not really good at the engineering. Some more screenshots that we are going to see. Obviously, their screens are, one of the prettiest and one of the prettiest products that I have personally seen. One of the most structured product from the software development perspective that I have personally seen. But they are going to have a lot of issues, in the reviews. That's what I could see. If you look at some of the scheduling screens, oh my goodness, this is awesome, guys. This is what everybody wants. So if you are going to look at the demo of Plex, you are going to be fascinated by the demo because this is what you're going to see. But obviously, in a lot of cases, it's not going to work. It will definitely work in case of your automotive. This is the traceability screenshot, guys. The traceability is really deep. They have a lot of functionality for the food and beverage as well, even though we could not find any case studies. You have things like country of origin to incorporate that functionality. That's a heavier lift. Fat content, come on. I have not seen that anywhere else. HACCP compliance built as part of the product. Food and beverage, guys. This is crazy. I mean, the way the functionality is built. Angela, you were talking about the documentation. This is how pretty and neat and clean their document management system is, where you are going to feel as if you are using a Word document, but a Word document that is integrated as part of your processes. Again, very, very, very deep features. They have a lot of functionality in the food and beverage space. Things like the certificate of analysis. This is built as part of the product. And these screenshots are coming right from their demo videos, guys. And here is the screenshot of the bill of materials and the routing, which is completely different. Okay, most of the newer ERP systems have integrated this because you need to mimic your manufacturing process in your ERP. If you're not able to do that, you are going to struggle. And they have not integrated these two. Obviously, it could be because that's how their product is designed, and integrating that could be a challenge for them. So that's a huge issue in my mind. If you look at their HACCP functionality, it's very, very, very deep. I have not seen this functionality even in some of the HACCP add-ons.
that specialize in just the HACCP functionality, which is very clean. It's built as part of the product.
This one was an interesting one, Sam. That you said earlier in the session that what is an ERP? Because the definition, and you were talking a little bit about the depth versus the breadth of them as far as what different types of companies or different types of processes that they can support. There's another definition maybe to think about on whether something is an ERP or not, and that is, does it cross all of the processes within the business? Does it have strength in accounting? Does it have strength in inventory control, advanced warehousing, and sales, and the other things? And I don't see that here. You can tell by the reviews, and even you can tell by the features that they're very focused on the manufacturing management piece. And then as they get a little bit farther out of that, traditional normal ERP things, I'm not sure are even there. More or less deep. They didn't even say GL one time, right? They don't even mention the GL. So I'm not sure if this is really an ERP, a marketable ERP, or if it's a manufacturing solution for automotive with a lot of really great functionality.
Exactly, and that is probably the reason why I had highlighted that Workday, which is really strong in your financials, and HCM, it's a marriage made in heaven, because you have the financials, you have your HCM, and then you integrate that with Plex. You are not going to find a solution that can match the breadth and depth of these two systems. But that integration, guys, is going to be a very hard lift.
Yeah, I think what was interesting about this for me, and kind of ties what Phil was saying with this, and it's been, I would say, a bit of a recurring theme, but I do think, to Phil's point, you see it a little bit deeper going through the Plex, but that is really about and even on a couple of those user reviews, but it's really about the discovery process and identifying, what your process looks like today throughout your business, front door to back door, figuring out what that future state looks like if there's going to be some changes in there, and then identifying, an ERP that really speaks to all of those points. And Phil, I think you did a good job of kind of highlighting with Plex specifically, kind of what we've learned and I think the user reviews have definitely pointed that out as well. So I think it's kind of, again, a recurring theme and a lesson learned, but one that people should take very seriously as they're going through their business and going through the discovery process of looking at what their current ERP is, if they're using one, and obviously what a future one might look like.
So Sam, I think that because of their alignment with Toyota, they used a lot of the lean manufacturing and Six Sigma terms that gave me a warm fuzzy. But I have to agree with Phil that I have to question whether this is actually an ERP system, and I am not comfortable with
Just to be fair with Plex, let's say if you are a supplier that is only supplying to Toyota, okay, there are a lot of suppliers, okay, there's going to be a great ERP system. There's no question about that, okay, because obviously it can support the accounting needs and the supply chain needs of the small business. But let's say if you are going to be diverse, if you want to be agile business, you don't want to tightly couple yourself with Toyota, then obviously you don't want to go for Plex, because Plex can only support Toyota. Even in case of automotive, I mean, see, if you are going to go with Honda, it's going to be challenging.
Is it ever a good business solution to have only one customer?
I don't know. I don't think they're targeting one customer. They're targeting one customer ecosystem, which is thousands of companies.
Yeah. But I think what Angela is trying to say is, if you are a manufacturer, and would you feel comfortable if you are only selling to Toyota? So Angela, you are going to be shocked and surprised. There are a lot of players in the market, they only supply to Toyota, and actually that loyalty pays out. Because when you are going to be loyal to Toyota, you are going to be their platinum supplier. Okay, so that exists in case of aerospace, that exists in case of automotive. There are the loyal fanboys. Okay, and Toyota wants that. Toyota wants to reward the players that are going to be loyal to Toyota. And that's why
a captivated audience.
Exactly.
Okay.
Everybody wants that.
What I was going to say is that, similar to David, Phil, and Angela in the comments, it all goes back to how difficult it is to evaluate an ERP software.
Yeah.
Because if you look at those screens, they're beautiful. And if you look at the terminology, they're all right there, and it clicks. Angela was smiling her face off until she realized that there might not be the depth past what it's showing. So how do companies evaluate software? They sit through a sales demo. It's 4 hours, 8 hours, whatever it is. Really, they're only touching the iceberg, the tip of the iceberg, and they don't see what's below, and they make a decision because of tons of assumptions or misassumptions. And, I can see this really, as long as they're in that one target market of the Toyota ecosystem, I think it's fabulous. But as soon as you start to diversify, it's going to be some challenges.
On that note, I want to thank everybody for your time and insights.
Thanks,
Great
Sam.
being here. Thank you, Sam.
Thanks, Sam.
Thanks as always, Sam.
I cannot thank our guests enough for coming on the show, for sharing their knowledge and journey. I always pick up learnings from our guests, and hopefully you learned something new today. If you want to learn more about Andy Pratico, head over to essoft.com. It's ESSOFT.com. If you want to learn more about Phil Kerper, head over to ringlingbussiness.com. It's ringlingbusinessSolutions.com. If you want to learn more about Angela Thurman, head over to thurmanco.com. It's THURMANCO.com. If you want to learn more about Dave Chrysler, follow him on the Chrysler.club. It's THECRYSLER.CLUB. Links and more information will also be available in the show notes. If anything in this podcast resonated with you and your business, you might want to check other related episodes, including the interview with Ken Hettelwick, who discusses the nuances of the PPAP process for machine shops serving the automotive market. Also, the interview with Sneha Kamari, who shares her insights into how SLAs and resource mix impact shop floor scheduling. Also, don't forget to subscribe and spread the word among folks with similar backgrounds. If you have any questions or comments about the show, please review and rate us on your favorite podcasting platform or DM me on any social channels. I'll try my best to respond personally and make sure you get help. Thank you, and I hope to catch you on the next episode of the WBS Podcast.
Thank you for listening to another episode of the WBS Podcast. Be sure to subscribe on your favorite podcasting platform so you never miss an episode. For more information on growth strategies for SMBs using ERP and digital transformation, check out our community at WBS.rocks. We'll see you next time.